Mostly to partly sunny, a stray shower possible later on Tuesday near 85, then scattered clouds in mid-60s at night. Sunshine 85 on Wednesday, similar weather on Thursday. This is Gary Best. You're next to WHAV Weather in 30 minutes.
Catch the wave. WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome, Chris, to bring us up. Thank you. That was Chris Porter in Master Control. Thank you, Chris. All right, Tim Coco here. This is 97.9 FM, WHAV's Open Mic Show. Also, if you're watching on television, HC Media, Channel 22 in Haverhill. Thank you very much to HC Media. If you're watching on Facebook Live or WHAV.tv on your computer or smartphone, yes, we have a very, very high camera angle tonight because, well, studio equipment gets in the way, and last week we noticed that it was obscuring the faces of our guests. So, we are a radio station first, as Mark LeMay likes to remind me. So, yes, it looks like you're looking down on us, and in fact you are. So, but at least you'll be able to see everything. All right, coming up on tonight's program, two very special guests from the Haverhill Cultural Council. Alison Colby-Campbell and Ruby Lyons will be on the program. They're going to talk about the upcoming grant deadlines to apply for a Haverhill Cultural Council grant. Now, what we don't know is probably by the time the grants are announced, the legislature may have overridden Governor Charlie Baker's vetoes of some of the money for the Massachusetts Cultural Council, which is where the money comes from Haverhill Cultural Council. I think, and we'll ask our guests this, I think as things stand now, there'll be just a little bit less money to give away in local grants. And we'll talk about that in some detail. Now, at the beginning of every program, we remind you that Albee D's second-generation Italian bakery, 140 South Main Street in Bradford, provides one lucky winner a month a free 7-inch birthday cake or anniversary cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate. And all you have to do is wish someone a happy birthday or a couple a happy anniversary here on WHAV, and they become eligible. Now, always work a month ahead. So here it is on August 14th. We're taking September birthdays and anniversaries. Now, I know we're having some great weather on Mondays lately, so some of you may be outside. It's a good reason to carry your portable radios around. Now, most people do listen to radio in the car. 93% of Americans 12 plus listen to radio. If you've heard anything else, if you think Pandora is taking away audience or Spotify, no, they're not. Because you can't get local news on Pandora or Spotify. You can't get traffic reports if you're in an urban area on Pandora or Spotify. Radio still is king. It hasn't been hurt by the internet, hasn't been hurt by other media. It's still strong. And we make this point because we're going to concentrate on making sure that people listen to what's important to them, that controls their future, controls their tax bill, controls their water bill, their wastewater bill, controls their parking fees downtown. Because when you're informed, you can have an opinion. Now, there are opinions on both sides. Some people think Haverhill isn't spending enough and isn't raising enough money in taxes to pay for all the things the city needs, like new schools and refurbished streets and more sidewalk repairs. Well, I'm not going to touch that debate with the 10-foot pole, not in the least. I'll let you decide how you feel. A big debate, I think, is going to be coming up in this fall's elections. Affordability, how some people describe it, versus services. And it is true, I'll agree with this, you do get what you pay for. But we all have budgets in our homes, and as much as we would like the latest new car or the biggest TV or the latest kitchen appliance, sometimes we put off those things because we simply don't have the money. And that's the argument being made by those who want to keep how they describe Haverhill affordable. And then on the other side, you say, yes, but we need a new car because we can't go to work, and then it's going to cost us money. Well, that's a good case for buying and spending. We have open lines until 7 o'clock before our guests arrive. Maybe you want to comment on that. I think it's going to be a big factor. Frankly, I think it is the sleeper issue in this fall's Haverhill municipal elections. Mayor Fiorentini, he's not gloating, but he could be, because he worried, he said to councilors, that if something happened with the state budget or money that comes from the state, Haverhill will regret increasing spending. And, well, something has happened. Representative Brian Dempsey has left the legislature effectively. He'll be out officially in September, but I think he's effectively left the legislature. And the governor seems to be pretty brazen about his vetoes right now. And there may even be a time when when the governor just does something that the legislature can't override, and that's called a 9C cut. Now, I will note, and it was on WHAV and on WHAV.net, $300,000 for Haverhill Public Schools. And I'm not quite sure which program it was for, but the governor cut it. The legislature will probably override the governor, but the governor can still cut it through a law called 9C. So, and this could even happen with the Cultural Council grants we're going to be talking about. Now, it isn't that money to the state isn't growing. It is, but it's just not growing as fast as lawmakers had predicted. Now, a number of commenters on WHAV's website do a really good job of backing up their information with information from the Federal Reserve and so on. And I know at least one listener, and I won't call him out, but he can certainly call in if he wants to identify himself, has pointed out that we have a bubble on the horizon, and that is all those employees of the city of Haverhill going back many, many years have retired or will retire, and including employees of the former Hale Hospital who weren't eligible for retirement when the hospital closed but may be becoming eligible, or the Glenn Memorial Nursing Home. And there was a time when, before Proposition 2.5, Haverhill had many more people in the Public Works and Parks Department. So there are fewer people paying into the system right now, and more people taking out of the pension system. I welcome the person who comments on this frequently at WHAV.net to call in if he would like. But speaking of calling in, again, birthdays and anniversaries. Let's hear. We're going to go to your side first, Chris. You are on the open mic.
Oh, hello.
And Brian kicks off the show each week, and he's spacing out his birthdays. All right. Actually, there's several meanings of that word. He's not actually spacing out. He's putting some time between them. All right. Who do we have?
Two of them.
All right.
Not two birthdays. I got two birthdays, yeah.
All right.
It's for Kelly. I've been calling Kelly's birthday in every year for several years.
And has Kelly ever won?
No, she's never won.
Ah, see, Brian doesn't win all the time. Okay.
And the other one is Maria. Her nickname is Mia.
Mia and so Kelly?
Yep.
Mia and Kelly. Now, what are their birthdays?
Mia is on the 16th, and Kelly's is the 27th.
Okay, so are they
It's also
both
my
listening, do you
brother's
think?
birthday, but he's on Long Island, so
What's that?
my brother, September 27th also.
Oh, well, you could have him come visit you, and then you could eat cake if he wins.
I wish it were that easy.
No, all right, not that easy. All right, so Mia and Kelly, are they listening to WHAV, do you think?
I don't know.
You know, you should remind them. That'll help both of us. They
Yeah.
get to hear that you wish them a happy birthday, and I wish them a happy birthday. And I bet Chris and Cindy in Master Control open up your microphone and say happy birthday to Mia and Kelly. All right, see, I'm going to force them into action here.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
All right, see? Hey, well, a new tradition is starting tonight.
I heard another voice besides Chris's.
That's right, that was Cindy.
Oh, Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
All right, so see now they should have been listening, because how many times do they hear 3, 4 people, including you, on the radio wishing them a happy birthday? All right, so you know, do you have any others, by the way, before I ask you a question?
No, that's it for September.
Let me ask you this: you heard. Maybe you heard my little partial commentary at the beginning of the show. I think that the biggest issue in the local elections this fall, and that's going to be all the way to November because there's no preliminary city election. I think the big issue is the divide that we're beginning to see through all our bodies, whether it's city council or school committee. We're definitely seeing a divide take place over those who think we should spend more because they're needed, and those who think we should hold the line because there are people on fixed incomes that, you know, it doesn't matter whether we need it, they just can't pay for it.
Right.
Do you have an opinion either way on that?
Well, I'd have to think about it some more, but I can certainly relate to the fixed income part.
Well, that's what I thought. I thought I'd ask you because you are a regular voter, and you know, you're depending on how you vote, you may very well be increasing the cost to your own household. And you may say, you know what, I know that I need that new sidewalk, or I need better whatever service it is you think you need.
All right.
So you may.
Walkable city, you know?
Well, I mean, one of the issues, the mayor spent more money than ever, at least in recent memory, this year and last, on repairing sidewalks. And I don't remember the number. He threw out a number off the top of his head one day. I don't know, like, to do the entire city would be $30 million or something. And maybe that's not the number, but it's some enormous number. We can spend a couple $100,000. And that's doubling what we've done. So, yeah, a more walkable city would appeal to a lot of people. Then we hear, you know, we're going to put a well under the Merrimack River. We're not going to take water from the river itself. We're putting a well under the Merrimack River. That's going to go on the water rate. We have to take care of this odor problem at the wastewater treatment plant. That's going to go on the sewer rate. So it's not like we're not going to have increases anyway. And in the old days, and someone will take me to task for this, I'm sure, for reminding everybody, in the old days, city councils, and I'm not judging this whether this was correct or not, but city councils would say, you know, it's going to cost us $30 million to do the water treatment plant. Instead of putting that on the water bill, we're going to do a long-term bond, and we're going to pay a little bit out of city revenues, out of regular tax money. So we're going to keep the water rates low, artificially. And I think that I'm going to hope I'm not characterizing him wrong. I think the mayor would say, if we only had that luxury, but we don't. We can't add it to the tax bills, the capital cost, because there are people who use more water than others, or others who shouldn't get a subsidy. Maybe a business that uses a lot of water shouldn't get a subsidy. Good arguments there. I have no particular opinion on my own, but I just wondered how, you know, you're Mr. Average Haverhill citizen on a fixed income. You know how that relates to you. You have no children in school, is that right?
That's right.
So now that's of course a bigger issue.
I'm hanging on, you know, because see, when my wife passed away 3 years ago, then so did half the income here.
That's why I'm asking you, because I think you're probably more than representative of a situation like that. So, yeah, it must be difficult. Not to mention the loss from the theft that you've had, and just the enormous expenses you've had through all the crises that you've been through over the last few years.
Yeah.
Not to remind you, I don't want you getting depressed, because we're going to be happy here, okay? All right. Well,
I guess better days are coming, we hope. That when you mentioned the sidewalks, I thought of the sidewalks they built when they built this condo development, and they're not so great. Not only that, but they skipped out on certain curb cuts. So when my wife Leslie's case coordinator would go with her over to Chunky's, she'd be pushing the wheelchair. She had to go out in the street.
Oh, I see. Now, those, I refresh my memory, are those like blacktop sidewalks and blacktop berms?
Yep.
I guess I can say this out loud. Every year, snowplows come up and down my street. I live near Plastow, New Hampshire, in Haverhill. Every year, the snowplows come up and they hit those blacktop curbs, because that was the cheapest thing the developer of the neighborhood did, instead of granite, buried half underground. These blacktops just basically sit on top of the street. Right. Snowplows hit it, rip it apart. Yep. Every year that we say something, the city, or my neighbors say something, the city comes and puts down a blacktop curb, or berm, I guess it's called. And, it lasts a year. And then it's a mess. You got to get rid of it afterward. Yep. So this year we said to the city, it's our particular street, the water doesn't drain in such a way that it needs to hit the berm before getting into the catch basin. So it's not like it's going to drain into somebody's yard. Right. If that's not there. It's going to be our yard. So we said, just remove the berm completely. We'll bring our lawn right to the street, because it is certainly better than a snowplow hitting it. And pushing it into the street and in the way, and then everybody in the neighborhood gets, a big jolt driving down the street. But, a lot of developers have gotten away with this, and I don't know if it's the planning department, the appeals board, or city council during special permitting, but someone needs to, here's my opinion of the night, someone needs to require granite curbing and concrete sidewalks.
Expensive.
But it's expensive, but it lasts longer.
Yeah, it does. Well, remember Jimmy Maverick? He wanted to put electricity in all the downtown sidewalks so that the ice could not form on them.
Well, I'm afraid that it would be kind of expensive, and I'm
Indeed.
not. Jimmy Maverick, it was a frequent caller to the open mic show like 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, he was.
All right. Well, Brian, I have pushed you into giving an opinion, so now the politicians can either love you or hate you.
We'll see what happens.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian, and happy birthday to Mia and Kelly.
Okay, Tim, you have a good evening.
You too. Thank you very much. All right. So we have another caller, but let's take this break that we need to take, and we'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show on 97.9 FM WHAV.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Public radio for Greater Haverhill. This is 97.9 WHAV.
Catch the wave!
Hi, Tom Bergeron here. I started at WHAV in 1972. And look, WHAV's still here, but it won't be if you don't help support it. Go to WHAV.net. Become a contributor. Keep us going.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
9 minutes before the hour here at 97.9 FM WHAV, and this is the Open Mic Show. I'm your host, Tim Coco, and coming up at the top of the hour, just after the news, we're going to have two members of the Haverhill Cultural Council here on the program. You've seen at least one of them before. We have Alison Colby-Campbell and Ruby Lyons here to talk about what's coming up this fall when the Haverhill Cultural Council begins accepting grant applications from individuals and nonprofits, school groups, and the like for cultural and civic programs. But let's go to a telephone call now. You are on the open mic.
Hi, Tim. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's Justin. I haven't called in a long time, but it's good to call you finally.
Oh, good, Justin. Welcome back.
I heard you talking about, the expenditures and taxes in the city, and I mean, I moved away from Haverhill. I just moved back, and I know that sidewalks are a must, but I think the problem that the city has is that sometimes they're spent. I feel that they're spent on some where they're not supposed to be. Like, I see Bradford always getting new sidewalks, and sometimes the avenues. Or I live up on Mount Washington. Some of the sidewalks up here really need it. I agree with spending the money where it needs to be spent, but I just feel like some areas get it more than others.
Well, there's that's funny you mentioned that because we're going to do something on this soon. I think I've been approached by actually several people to do this. Okay, it's too late for this year, but there are a number of people saying, what if we had ward counselors? So in other words, Bradford would have one counselor, Mount Washington would have a counselor, Ayers Village would have a counselor, and there would also be some at-large counselors so that they would look at the whole city. But this way, I will tell you that I once lived in Ward 1, closer to downtown, and it's amazing. You could permit a hazardous waste plant there because nobody would ever complain because I don't know what it is. People are busy. They're not getting the news. They don't know what's going on. And so Ward 1 always became the dumping ground for anything the city didn't want elsewhere. And a most recent example of that I'll mention is that a developer wanted to put the medical marijuana store in that area. I'm not saying that that's a good or a bad idea. I'm simply saying they know that they won't get objections. And I think the councilors count on that. But what they will get is the wealthier neighborhoods. Well, education, socioeconomic, that's a really big debate that we don't have time to get into, but those people advocate for their neighborhoods. So, yeah, it's a tough call.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, big players in that and people advocating. Like I said, for me to move away from Haverhill for and to come back and to see that, it's changed a lot. And but like I said, some areas still really need it. Or, I was just reading something a while ago that city councilors were getting raises, and I know the superintendent had got a raise at some point, and I know he's gotten a couple over the last few years. Not saying that, they don't deserve them. But, I feel like sometimes a raise should be, postponed in order to help the city. That's just my view on it.
No, it's and the other thing that used to help our neighborhoods because only certain neighborhoods were eligible. And actually, I won't give out the city councilor's name, but I'm being texted at the same time. But the federal government provides a grant, and who knows if it'll still be around, called Community Development Block Grants. It's a Richard Nixon era grant program. And what that program said was poor districts, poor neighborhoods can have some money could be things like infrastructure. That's why a few years ago, and you say you lived in Haverhill before, so maybe you remember this, Middlesex Street area, Bradford down there, they all got
Yes.
brand new sidewalks and trees and other kinds of things. And the idea behind putting that stuff in poor neighborhoods is then someone says, gee, this looks really nice. Maybe I should paint my house, or maybe I should replace the siding. Then values start to go up, and they sell, and then another family comes in that had to pay more to get there. And next thing you know, and this is absolutely true, that neighborhood in Bradford became ineligible for federal money because it was now wealthy enough. People tell me that's now going the other way, that neighborhood in Bradford. But for a while, it became ineligible to get extra money. But now, the community development block grants have been getting smaller and smaller every year, where right now, and I'm sure someone will argue with me, it seems like it is used mostly for city hall salaries. That may not be entirely fair or accurate, but it's certainly not as, percentage-wise, it's certainly not as much going into the infrastructure. And downtown is automatically eligible under community development block grants, so that's why it tends to get a lot of attention, although some would say not nearly enough. So I'm really glad you commented on that. But what, other than maybe salaries, what other areas do you think might get more money than other areas of the city?
It's a tough one. I mean, I know the Parks Department, I know Swayze's and all the parks are getting redone. I just think that we should focus more on the roads and, sidewalks. That's for my opinion. I know that, the parks definitely have to be redone, but I feel like the infrastructure is a little more important than a playground.
Do you have potholes on your street?
I live on Ford Street, and there's a hole that's becoming a sinkhole. My car is getting scratched up. Everybody's car. The road is horrendous. They don't plow it because the plows will get ruined. Well, the road is terrible.
Well, I noticed that 7th Avenue at Main Street, there's that, I have to tell you, the owner, the family that owns American Grocery on Main Street at 7th did a wonderful job. I mean, they spend more money than anybody else ever would on refurbishing the store inside and out, apartments and the whole bit. I mean, just really a showcase. But the sidewalk coming up 7th Avenue, it suddenly drops, maybe I'm exaggerating, I'm not sure. It drops about 3 feet just as you approach Main Street. So if you're in a wheelchair or you're not paying attention, you're just walking up the sidewalk, you're going to trip and fall because
it definitely does, because I've done it.
Oh, well, there you go. So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'll go for a jog out there and have my headphones on, not thinking about it, and there I am taking a dive on 7th Ave.
Okay, so you see, I'm not the only one who's noticed this. And, so here's someone who spent a lot of money on his property. We want that kind of investment. But we no longer have the community development block grants, and that area would be eligible to say we're going to reconstruct the sidewalks, because that's not a matter of fixing the curbing or pavement. There's a drop there. And unfortunately, I looked in the hole, and there's like a gas pipe there, so it's not the kind of thing you go hacking at and fill it, because they're going to have to move the gas pipe back to the surface and so on. So it ends up being a rather expensive thing, but, frankly, that's a dangerous area if you're trying to come up in a wheelchair. And as you just said, you're going to have to leave the sidewalk, go into the street, and then back to the sidewalk to avoid the hole. I see what you're saying. I mean, I guess I've added to what you're saying.
I see it all day long, though. People with the motorized wheelchairs or people walking,
and apparently jogging. And apparently when they jog, too, right?
Yeah. Well, I usually, during the summer, I'll go around 6, 7 o'clock at night. It starts to get dim, and I'm not paying attention as much as I should be. But, you shouldn't have that thought in the back of your head that, 7th Avenue, you're going to take a dive.
Well, it's funny that we both use that example then. All right.
Yeah.
But no, thank you very much. I'm afraid we have to go to news. Is there anything else? 20 seconds?
No, just figured I'd say hello and hope you're doing well, Tim.
All right, well, thank you very much, and you're proving my point. People do have opinions on spending and taxes, don't they?
They do.
All right, thank you so much for your call. Look forward to hearing from you again.
You have a great night, Tim.
You
Bye-bye.
too, thank you. Bye. Okay, right at 7 o'clock, Chris. I'm going to keep talking till it's 7:01. No, let's go to local news. We'll be back with Alison Colby-Campbell, Ruby Lyons from the Haverhill Cultural Council after news and weather.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:01.
WHAV LP Haverhill.
Here's what's happening in local news. Wearing a safety belt is being credited with saving the life of a 17-year-old driver after a major crash early Sunday morning on Water Street. The juvenile, driving an older model station wagon, struck and sheared a utility pole near Chapley Avenue just before 1:30 a.m. The front passenger side of the car was virtually torn from the vehicle. Witnesses said the teenager appeared to be intoxicated. Deputy Police Chief Anthony Hawk said the minor was handcuffed during questioning, but later taken to a local hospital for treatment of minor injuries. He was not arrested, but will be summoned into court instead, Hawk said. Haverhill firefighters were also on the scene with a rescue truck. Electricity was not immediately interrupted. Throughout the month of August, WHAV provides a daily report counting down to the first day of school in Greater Haverhill. Haverhill High School staff will team up with Power to the Parents to show families how they can spot clues that might indicate their children are involved with drugs or alcohol. Power to the Parent is a website and media campaign created in Westchester County, New York, designed to help parents help keep their teens healthy and safe. On Thursday, August 17th, from 6:45 to 8 p.m., the organization will set up a mock teen bedroom in the conference room near the main entrance to the high school. This is the same date as freshman orientation, which begins at 6 p.m. In the room, clues to drug and alcohol use will be hidden in plain sight. Parents are encouraged to look around to see how many items they can find, including drug-related decor, hidden compartments, and items designed to conceal use. Staff from HHS will be available to answer questions and explain the meaning and use of the items. Parents do not have to attend freshman orientation to take part in this program. All interested parents are invited. The middle school years can be a difficult time for all kids, but girls in this age group face unique challenges. Timberlane Regional Middle School offers a 10-week after-school program called Heart and Soul for girls in the 6th through 8th grades. Physical activity is at the core of the program, which uses running to impart life lessons and build self-esteem. It culminates with a 5K run and celebration. Monday, August 14th at midnight is the deadline to register online. If openings remain, a new registration window will open Tuesday, August 15th, and remain open until all slots are filled. Heart and Soul meets Tuesday and Thursday after school from 2:15 to 3:45, beginning Thursday, September 7th. Upgrades to Methuen school buildings will greet students upon their return, Superintendent Judith Scannell reports. Lighting has been upgraded in classrooms at CGS, Marsh, Tenney, and Timoney schools. Marsh School received a new roof and upgrades to the HVAC unit. A kindergarten was created from unused space at Tenney School. Timoney Stage received a new wood floor. Renovations of the auditorium has begun with an estimated completion date of October. At Methuen High School, workers are building a patio dining area outside the Ranger cafeteria.
Business Bulletin.
Trustees of Linwood Cemetery and Crematory of Haverhill recently presented a donation to Merrimack Valley Hospice supporting the city's High Point House. While an amount was not disclosed, the gift was described as generous by officials of Home Health Foundation. Money will be used to support patients confront advanced illness and end of life at the hospice house. We are pleased to make this substantial donation to High Point House to assist the valuable services Merrimack Valley Hospice provides provides to patients and families in our community. They are a tremendous resource to our city and region, said Gordon Stone, Linwood trustee. Linwood Cemetery and Crematory is a private, non-denominational, and non-profit 45-acre cemetery in Haverhill. It was founded more than 170 years ago. It is an honor to be their charity of choice. Many patients and their families will benefit from this special gift to support High Point House, said Karen Gomez, President and CEO of Home Health Foundation, which includes Merrimack Valley Hospice, Home Health VNA, and Home Care. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at WHAV.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Tim Coco.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. U.S. President Donald Trump has explicitly condemned the KKK neo-Nazis and white supremacy groups as repugnant after heavy pressure to do so. Hundreds of people are feared dead in Sierra Leone following a heavy downpour that triggered a mudslide. And the South Korean president is calling on the U.S. to find a diplomatic solution as tensions rise over the nuclear threat from the north.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Gary Best with wave weather. Partly cloudy to clear at times during the night for the Merrimack Valley. Low temperatures 62 to 66. Mostly to partly sunny, a stray shower possible later on Tuesday near 85. Then scattered clouds in mid-60s at night. Sunshine 85 on Wednesday. Similar weather on Thursday. This is Gary Best. You're next to wave weather in 30 minutes.
Your membership enables WHAV to remain local and independent. Consider joining at WHAV.net. 97.9 FM WHAV.
Catch the wave. WHAV. Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And we're back here on the Open Mic Show, 97.9 FM, WHAV, on streaming live on Facebook and at WHAV.tv and Haverhill Community Television Channel 22. Alison Colby-Campbell to my right. Ruby Lyons, down the end of the hall, it seems, if you're on television.
You can slide over. Ruby.
Hello there.
Go get cozy.
Chris and Cindy, can you see them on the monitors okay? All right. Last week we had this like right in front of someone's face, so we're still, we're radio people, but people seem to like the multimedia approach, and it does bring in an audience. And speaking of bringing in an audience, first of all, I'm so impressed. Folks, those of you watching on TV, this is big. It's a complete listing. This is all kinds of events by month, colorful. How does one get one of these?
Well, you could certainly go and ask the Haverhill Cultural Council, drop in at 10 Welcome Street, and we can get them for you. We're pretty much running out of them at this point, so we may be doing a second printing.
Okay. I mean, it's very good.
What we thought about when we did it, and we did this with the help of a local artist. Her name is Paige DeRosa Walsh, and she designed this for us in a way to show just how integrated the Cultural Council is in every single month of the year. And that's what this basically does. There's always something going on every month that the Cultural Council has helped to bring to you.
And that's actually what we're going to discuss tonight. Still people, oddly, not understanding what Haverhill Cultural Council is, where it gets its money, and how many great things that you attend in this great city of ours that wouldn't have happened but for the Haverhill Cultural Council. And two prominent members right here. Now, titles change, and I don't know if I which ones we're on. You were a co-chair or?
I am a vice.
Vice chair.
Vice chair.
Vice chair.
Vice chair.
Vice,
this year.
she's in charge of vice.
I love that job.
And she's good at it.
Let's talk about Ruby being the treasurer, our favorite numbers person.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone needs that.
All right, so the Haverhill Cultural Council, now I teased this a little bit, then knowing that you're out, hoping that you're listening to the show, and you were, during the course of the summer, and I don't think anyone but some of us wonks would be following this, but the House 1 came out, and it really didn't give enough money to the Mass Cultural Council. Senate came in with an amendment, it got a little bit better, but then the governor didn't put it in his budget, and it seemed like it was a roller coaster all spring about how much money Massachusetts Cultural Council would receive, and of course of that, cities and towns across the Commonwealth get grants for local Cultural Council events or their recipients' events. And so I actually don't know where it stands right now.
I'm a little bit up in the air, too. The last I had heard was we were similar to last year. We didn't get the increase we wanted, but then there was some talk about whether that was going to be maintained or not.
Yeah, right now, we think it's going to be somewhere between $23,000 and $25,000
And that's about
to
where
the
you've
city.
been hovering.
And that's what we've been hovering at the last couple of years. But I haven't heard a final number yet.
Nor have I.
Now, of this money, and someone might think it's a big amount, but as you know, who have to weave through all of the proposals, it's not nearly enough, is it?
It's not nearly enough to fund everyone that applies. It's a very valid event or program to bring to the city. Certainly not. I think last year we had 41 applicants.
41 applicants and
21 that we approved.
Yeah, 21 were approved, and we had a total with some extra from other areas. We had about $27,000 to distribute, and it was a tough decision-making process because.
I would think so. Now, do you know the dollar value? If everyone were able to get their wish list, do you know what it would have been?
It would have been somewhere around $95,000.
All right,
Thank goodness you're here. You remember those numbers so well.
So really a quarter of wonderful projects
Right.
could be paid for. Well, that's the kind of thing, and that, I guess, brings us to, and you luckily provided me with a cheat sheet beforehand, that brings us to what is the mission of the Haverhill Cultural Council. And Chris and Cindy in Master Control, we're going to be finding some graphics.
We are.
All right, so only because you pulled up your sheet, you're all giving me context clues. For those who are watching on television or a video stream anywhere you see it, we may go to some of those. But the Haverhill Cultural Council, if they're graphic, just tell Chris we can do it all live. Which one you'd like?
I think if you show the logo for the Haverhill Cultural Council, it does say on the bottom of that logo, enhancing Haverhill, one grant at a time.
All right.
So, and that in a nutshell is what we do. We want to bring a cultural vision to Haverhill to provide the most opportunities for the most people to get involved with culture in our city.
I guess the other piece of that is we want to be able to show the rest of the state how much Haverhill has to offer, especially in the area of cultural activities.
No, absolutely. And I guess luckily we'll say there's a separate Mass Cultural Council grant for some things for the Adams grant. Is that right?
Yeah, and I know there's some revisiting on as to how those are all going to be allocated this year, next year. But yes, there are several grants that the state gives out.
Well, Haverhill certainly has put its best foot forward, and I think quite successfully in the last few years, of showing the outside world, or at least our immediate neighbors, that there is a lot happening here, and it's all good. And I would say that all the good has at least been partially funded by the Haverhill Cultural Council.
There you go.
I think not all of it. I mean, I'd love to take all the credit for the Cultural Council, but there certainly are a lot of programs here that make us a more cohesive community.
All right. I actually can't monitor. See, we did this on purpose. We rearranged the studio so that no one would be distracted by the TV. But we have no way of knowing if Chris is actually putting the pictures up. All right. Anyway, he's waiting for clues. All right. So you mentioned, I don't know if maybe there's more on that you'd like to discuss?
I think that's a nutshell. Let's
Yeah.
anything else you need to add?
I think that covers it. I mean,
Okay.
the biggest thing that people need to understand is that a cultural council grant isn't just for people that draw pretty pictures. And I'm minimizing that, but it's arts, it's humanities, and it's interpretive sciences, which is anytime you take any type of science, math, geologic science, any of the sciences, and apply them to the way we live every day. So it's very encompassing.
That's an excellent point, because I think you're right. There are some people out there who think, oh, that's for painters.
Right.
Or that's for whatever. And this could...
It could be
scope.
for, it's a very, very broad scope, and that's one of the things we're trying to do is encourage more people to get involved and realize that what they're doing is an art. That doesn't mean they have to be drawing a picture, but what they're doing is an art.
It could be sound, it could be music, it could be some other type of visual. And matter of fact, the fact that we can't define it means it's art.
There you go.
Even things as simple as if you're restoring a historic cemetery, if you're working like on the Hilldale Cemetery or something or other, I've
Good work
encouraged those
happening
people to come and apply for a grant. And things at Buttonwoods, things at the Museum of Printing. There are all sorts of things that don't necessarily fall into the realm of finer performing arts that are considered culture.
No, very, very good points, very good points. All right. Now, we're coming up on the time when the public can apply for cultural council grants. And I think, when I teased this a little bit before you came on, this isn't just for organizations. It can be for individuals. It can be for
individuals,
school groups.
Individuals, even just a cohesive group of individuals that have a nonprofit agenda can apply for a cultural council grant. A nonprofit organization, public schools, libraries, even religious organizations, as long as it's a cultural event and it's not promoting a particular religion.
It's something for the public at large.
It's for the public at large. So it doesn't exclude anyone, as far as I know, in the city, as long as they're meeting the general guidelines.
Now, I'm remembering what's on the application, probably not every question, but it's not that big of an application either, really. So what, 2 pages? If that?
Well, I think it's considered a
Now it's
4-page
online.
application, but, it's online, and most of the questions are pretty explanatory and easy to answer.
Well, one of the things that jumps out at me from that is the Cultural Council, and I think correctly does this. In part of the evaluation process, you look at how many people will benefit from this. And that seems to be a really important component, because this isn't for, well, 3 friends of mine are going to play cards one night and paint pictures. Can you pay for the beer?
Typically not food anyway that it covers.
Right. Food and beverages are not covered under a grant.
Well, I'm exaggerating to make the point.
I know.
Hyperbole.
But no, you have not done that, and that's a good thing.
But that's, you're correct. We do try to look at getting the greatest impact for the dollars that we have. They are very limited, so we try to make them go as far as possible.
One of our smaller grants, the top grant that we gave out this year was for $3,000, but our smallest grant was for $40. It was a gentleman that has, he was just here, and he's at the library right now, and it is Stephen Lewis,
I see that.
he does the international poster exhibit 99% Resist. And so it's a whole poster series.
Which we
that he brought
actually
up
gave
there.
some publicity this week on HAV. So
Thank you very much.
I'm going to recheck that box because the library does a great job of promoting events within its walls, and we got that from Jennifer Lyons. Any relation?
Nope.
Okay. Now I'm going to always think about the name there. So the library does some good things with promoting within its walls, and I bet there's been some other cultural council events, portrait galleries, other things that have been funded over the years.
There is. They did a Lizzie Borden play at one point. They've done several things.
You know, it's funny, I was just with a Stephen Lewis this morning, but not this Stephen Lewis. Stephen Lewis, the developer of West Meadow Hill condos 30, 40 years ago, and I was complimenting him on how well those have held up, and I suppose that's a different form of art. So I did.
Architecture.
Yeah, so when I saw
It is still an art form.
when I saw this name there, but so many good things, and we probably don't have time to go through all of them, but and you know, it's funny, I didn't know which one it was until I got the handout you just brought.
Oh, I'm glad we brought it then.
So Urban Kindness, Light Up the Hill. And I didn't know what it was that they had received, but now I know because I have a cross-reference chart, and I can ask Keith Boucher now, whom I call on frequently to tell us what's going on there, to tell us about Light Up the Hill. So we're going to just tease the audience on that one.
All right.
And
I think one of the more exciting ones this year is the Northeast Music and Arts Festival, because they are geared so strongly at bringing people from all the way up and down the East Coast, from Rhode Island and Connecticut up to Maine, to come into Haverhill to enjoy, be entertained at a youth music festival where the kids are all the performers are kids between the ages of 15 and 24. But
well, I have to admit, it did jump out, and that's why you were involved in some correspondence on that, but I met with Jas, and I mean, it's just so impressive. And it's nice that we also have, I'm going to give kudos to everyone else now, it's nice that we have a big venue like Northern Essex Community College in our
Absolutely.
city that's really helping, because where else would it go? Maybe the stadium, I don't know, but certainly the equipment and the technology that probably one needs to pull off such a very big event. The college was appropriately suited for that. Now that does jump out, and that is coming up in September. I'm going to keep my cheat sheet.
September
right?
10th, it's my birthday.
by the way,
Yeah, by the
happy
way.
birthday, Allison.
Thank you.
Allison's being entered into the Albany Second Generation Italian Bakery Cake Contest, and we'll draw the winner on the last Monday of this month, unless there's a holiday.
Thanks
I have to
for
figure out how that goes. But actually, we have to take a break for Community Spotlight. We'll be back with our guests, Alison Colby-Campbell, Ruby Lyons from the Haverhill Cultural Council, in just a minute.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
WHAV is on Facebook. For quick access, visit whav.net and click on the Facebook icon. Your hometown just isn't about topics. It's about the people behind the topics and the people that are affecting those topics and that are being affected by those topics. That is what your hometown is all about.
Your Hometown with Mark LeMay, Friday nights at 6:30 on 97.9 FM WHAV.
Community Spotlight.
Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley is looking for residents to volunteer their time and talent to support elders in a variety of ways. Volunteers get to choose from 9 areas of interest and can give as little as an hour a week of your time to help in such programs, as a friend in need or as a medical advocate. Most programs require a Corey check for potential volunteers. For more information, email programs at esmv.org or call 978-946-3128. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news@whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, this is Mark LeMay.
WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And welcome back to the Open Mic Show here on 97.9 FM WHAV. Just joining us, we have Alison Colby-Campbell and Ruby Lyons from the Haverhill Cultural Council with us. And we've been talking about all the great things that are funded, apparently on a quarter or less of what is asked for. And we'll know more this fall when the legislature does its thing and the governor does his thing, and then we'll see if he does a 9C thing, but that's getting into the jargon, so we'll see what happens. But in any event, you are asking for opinions on the kinds of things Haverhill Cultural Council should support. Is that right?
That's absolutely true. Right now, if you go to the Haverhill Cultural Council Facebook page, the top pinned to the top is our current survey. We do a survey every year to see what the priorities are that the citizens want to have. And the more people that fill that out for us, it's a very short, easy little survey to take, the more we can direct our goals and our monies to those projects.
Now, if someone, we have a lot of listeners who, for whatever reason, do not have access to a computer or Facebook. Are there paper copies at the Citizen Center, or is there another way they can let you know what they think?
I think that's sheer genius, Tim. I don't believe that we have a hard copy of it.
We did not do the hard copies this year because we've gotten so few back in the past.
Oh, I see.
And the grant application
process. Now that I've asked, you're going to have people asking for it.
I know it. You will.
If they ask, they'll get one.
But we will give them one if they can call us at the Citizen Center. We can send them one out, which would be a good way to get.
Well, that might be
into
that work, because
priority.
you're obviously not staffed 24/7. You're actually not.
They'll have
staff,
to leave a
right?
message.
Volunteers.
We're all volunteers.
They will have to leave a message, and someone will pick the messages up and get back to them. But our grant application process now is all online also, so we're moving more and more to that online world.
No, and I think more and more of the WHAV audience enjoys our website, our Facebook page. We're running a Facebook stream now, so we obviously know that we have, but there are a few who tell us consistently that give me a phone number or give me an address because I don't do the computer thingy. So,
well, the Citizen Center is at 10 Welcome Street.
That's right, and I think they know where that is. So, but no, well, at least we're getting the word out that you are soliciting their feedback. You do this every year?
Every year we do it. This year we had a brand new council member who worked on the survey. Her first meeting, she volunteered to take this on. So I got to give Victoria kudos for that. That was good.
Oh, big job to do that. Now, I don't want to taint the outcome of the survey, so I don't know how you want to answer this or not, but what kinds of things have people brought to the Cultural Council's attention in the past that you might not have known but for the survey?
I remember last year when Emily had put the survey together and did her report, it was interesting to see, and I don't have the numbers because that's just not who I am, but the quantity of people that were interested in things for children versus not for children.
Okay.
And I thought that was a different divide than I expected.
Actually, how does that break out now?
See, now
not by actual, but I mean, are there more people with children or that want
It wasn't as strong as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be overwhelmingly child-oriented and student-oriented, and it was not.
It wasn't? Okay, now that is interesting. I wondered about how that would.
Yeah, the input was larger than we expected for that it didn't matter whether it was child-oriented or not.
Okay, that's interesting because we know there are a lot of advocates. Matter of fact, as we're speaking, there's a meeting at Silver Hill School,
right.
And we have a reporter there. There's a lot of things going on. We won't get too deep into that, but certainly you would think that the children would be the driver for a lot of things.
Well, don't get it wrong. It's still a strong component. It just wasn't the overwhelming majority.
No, that's as you would expect. So that it was overwhelming. So I guess it's there are people who want to go to events, and if they can bring their children, and chances are most of you can anyway, So that's very interesting. Anything else you'd like to tell us about the survey?
Well, we want to conduct it as quickly as we can because we really look at that when we develop our priorities and, as part of the regulations for our applications, and that's coming up. September 1 is the application date.
Let me ask you this. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I was just going to say we need to get people to respond to those as quickly as possible because we have to update our priorities by September 1st.
All right, by September 1st. We're very, very, well, I can't believe it's the middle of August. I mean, it's just April 1st, isn't it? What happens? But I don't know where the summer went. But, that's an interesting question. I don't know if it's addressed by your survey. But has anyone raised the question about there are some groups that are needier than others? How I don't even know how you'd evaluate that, but whether it's by looking at their financials. Maybe you're not allowed even to do that. But has anyone asked about a wealthy group versus a poor group or anything like that?
We have a number of different criteria and evaluation points, and I'm going to throw that to Ruby.
Thanks, Alison. The way the application is set up, it really doesn't address what the financial status of the recipients happens to be. They do have to have a budget in mind, a budget outlined, how they plan to pay for the event. We're looking for strength in that planning and thought process. So we try to remove any of the subjective issues. Certainly, by the nature of some of the grants, you can tell that they are more geared to someone that was more in financial need, but it really depends on what's the overwhelming benefit to the community.
Okay.
And that's where
that's a driver. Because looking at the list, there's a couple organizations in there that probably not in their cultural spending, but in their total organization, run into the millions of dollars. And then there's some in here that probably are looking for pennies on the sidewalk. Probably most of them are.
Right.
And we do like to say, it is our preference that we are not the only funding for whatever project happens, so that we want to see that they've got some skin in the game too, and that whether that's some money that they have accumulated for a budget or whether they've already sought out sponsors.
Okay, that's very important. We're going to have to take a break for news. Can you stay a little bit longer? Because
Sure.
we've only covered half of this. All right, I asked too many questions. All right, we're going to take a break for WHAV Weather with local meteorologists with weather tailored just for the greater Haverhill area. We'll be right back.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:33.
Broadcasting on the Armstrong FM system. This is 97.9 WHAV.
Catch the wave!
Melinda's Garden Moments help gardeners create and maintain a healthy, beautiful garden with ease, inside or out and all year long. This is Melinda Myers, inviting you to tune in every weekday morning, right here on WHAV. You'll learn creative ways to grow your own vegetables and herbs while beautifying your landscape. Eco-friendly lawn care, flower garden design basics, unique container gardens, attracting birds and butterflies to the landscape, and much more. Again, please join me weekday mornings for Melinda's Garden Moment for a very environmentally friendly approach to gardening. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Wave weather!
I'm WHAV meteorologist Gary Best with WAVE weather. Partly cloudy to clear at times during the night for the Merrimack Valley. Low temperature 62 to 66. Mostly to partly sunny, a stray shower possible later on Tuesday near 85. Then scattered clouds in mid-60s at night. Sunshine 85 on Wednesday. Similar weather on Thursday. This is Gary Best. You're next to WAVE weather in 30 minutes.
WHAV Open Mic!
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And this is the Open Mic Show, 97.9 FM, WHAV. Last time you were here, we weren't on the air yet, is that right? We were only streaming?
We were streaming, yeah, I think that's
All right, so the new FM is 11 months old. It's hard to believe. But
wow,
it's
congratulations on that. How awesome.
Big steps.
Up and running. 11 months it's been on the air. And we had another cultural council member sing at our dedication ceremony, which didn't take place until March because that was the 70th anniversary of the station, Latria Masters.
She is our chair, and she's a multi-talented woman, and you're lucky to have her perform for you.
Well, we were just so delighted. She sang the national anthem. We probably could make Chris dig that up, but we have time maybe. But wonderful. No, so much talent on the board, and what is funded. What's that?
We have a picture with Latria in it singing at O Positive with Liz Bills and
yeah, okay. Yeah, Chris, put up O Positive.
Gold Bomb.
Big Gold Bomb.
All right. So I'm gonna put them on.
So I think that she's kind of like one of Haverhill's official singers, according to the mayor.
No, well, I think
she's
so.
Very talented.
Well, I have to say, we covered. I'm trying to think of what it was. There was an event. Maybe it was a year ago, downtown. Was it a Veterans Day? But I was blown away.
This is when she did the opera, the Italian opera. That was for some Italian Independence Day or something like that. That was remarkable.
And that's when I said, we want her for the dedication. And she was so gracious and did a wonderful job. And then those of us who can't even sing in the shower, I said, well, what about the music? No, I don't need music. How do you do that? How do you do that? But anyway, that's another subject. But anyway, looking at some of the things, so the applications are entirely online again, and that's state mandated, right? That's not a decision you made.
It was a decision we made last year. We had the option to do both. And so last year we decided there were advantages for us to go straight to online last year. And now
this year, This year it's all straight online.
And when will the applications be available?
September 1st.
September 1st.
And it finishes up October 16th.
16th I think is Monday.
The last day.
All right, so no later than October 16th. You can do this online. And you have a note to me about application priority, details, and dates. I think we just covered dates.
That would be Ruby now. Hit it.
Well, the dates are kind of important. September 20th, which is should be the third Wednesday in September, we're doing our grant information meeting, which I know you've been to a few times, Tim, to just help people understand the application, understand what we're looking for in the answers, see what other people are asking. There's just a lot of information available. The applications.
And it's good for them because they may, well, I don't think this is be eligible. That's how they find out. Right?
And for first-time applicants, it gives them a sense of security to talk them through.
Okay.
Talk them through the process.
And someone always brings refreshments, don't they?
Yes. We do refreshments.
I go to those meetings even when I'm not applying.
And then on October 25th, we do what we call a Q&A session. So we've reviewed all of the applications once, and most of the time we have some questions about the applications, and that's the only opportunity we have to interface with the applicants and say, what did you mean by this?
And that's good for the applicant, because I have to admit, you caught one on my application where either a section I didn't answer or I put it in the wrong spot, and you caught that. And it gives me a chance to fix it.
And that's the important thing. You want to be able to have the grants be on an equal playing ground as much as you can.
That's the whole idea, is to make everybody as equal as possible, and then we go through that.
And if they attend that meeting, there's like an extra bonus point or something?
They get an extra 5 points you to remember. Well, they basically they don't lose 5 points for not attending.
This is where I'm told that I have begun to act and think like a general manager.
So both of those meetings, the September 20th meeting and the October 25th meeting, they're at 7 o'clock, and those are both at 10 Welcome Street as well.
Right. How many members are there on the Haverhill Cultural Council?
This is exciting news. We were kind of small there and running very lean, and we put a plea into the mayor, who appoints all of us. We don't just volunteer; he has to appoint us, and we are now up to 12 people. So it is awesome, and we've got a great new group of people from all over the city with all different types of talents, and that's going to help us create a more vibrant cultural council.
Oh, okay. Now, does the Cultural Council ever have programs that it itself puts on rather than a third party?
We do. We've done several art shows, open houses down at 90 Washington Street during the winter thing. What do we call it?
Christmas stroll.
Christmas stroll.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you.
I like the new name, the winter thing.
I'm sorry, just total blank there.
By the way, they're a grant recipient this year.
They are.
You've done concerts as well in the past, right?
We did. We did a Make Some Noise
Oh,
concert
that's right.
series. It was in, what is that, Columbus Square, and then back behind the tap for a little bit. But as we got leaner and with fewer people in our group, we were less able to have the people to do that. So as we expand again, it's something that we can look forward to trying to do.
Actually,
again.
that reminds me of another benefit of the online application. In the past, you had to make 14 sets of everything you provided so each member could get it.
Right? That's right.
It's pretty grueling.
So, then putting in your attachments and so on. And the attachments, if you want to put in a good grant application, you want people to understand what you're doing, you have to attach, perhaps some photos, a budget. There were some other things that were required. That's, I think, for capital
A letter of
expense and
support
so
from a
on.
location where your event or program might be held. But, you are restricted.
And the other donors.
Right. And you are restricted when we do it online. It limits the number of pages that you can attach, which is great for us because it's so
forces people to
hard to read. So many pages in such a concentrated time. So that makes it a little easier for us to do.
You can imagine if we were trying to read, each of us was trying to go through 41 applications in a 2-week period, or actually within a week's period, so that we could be ready for the Q&A session. And we're all volunteers, so that means we all have other things to do.
That's a question that's occurred to me. Probably no one else cares, but I'll ask. Is it easier for the Cultural Council members themselves? Can you look at the applications online in your leisure? Because in the old days, you all had to get together, move papers around the table.
They are online and available to us. And last year they all came to us in bulk, which was en masse, should I say.
Right.
And this year we will be getting them as once people finalize them online, we will then be able to see them. So it'll be a little bit easier for us to go through them.
Now, we can't discuss it
I know that.
in a group.
No, I realize that. But the reason I say this is I'm a commissioner of the Essex Heritage District. I'm already screwing up its name. But the...
Essex National.
Yes, Essex National Heritage.
I won a photo contest with them once.
That's right. And I was on a couple of committees, and we had to evaluate things. And it is so much easier because there's no meeting location that's convenient to every member of that, because it goes out to Salem and Lynn and so on. So, we'd all have to go someplace, but then we were able to review and read it and digest it on our own, and then go to a meeting, rather than 6 meetings or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a much simpler process now.
Hopefully we'll have a lot fewer really late nights.
Yeah, there have been a few of those.
We have to have a lot of snacks and coffee on those meeting nights.
Snacks, coffee, that'll get me there.
One thing that people should keep in mind when they're looking at that grant application is to make sure to read the local council's priorities.
Good point.
Because they kind of go off on a tangent sometimes, where if they would just focus on what our local priorities are, and those will be updated. But for the instance, this last year, one of our priorities has been enticing people to come out to cultural events, enticing people to come in from outside the city, things that engendered community support. So by helping us to understand how your event does those things, makes it a lot simpler for us to get through it quickly and identify those priorities, because those are the items that get weighted the heaviest as we go through our decision-making process.
You have your own list. The state lets you build a little bit to localize it. You know, that does remind me, and I may catch you off guard with this because I'm not sure how well known it is, or even if I have it right.
And Ruby has to answer.
Well, it seems to me that if you are an organization or you have an event that spans maybe several towns, you can go to each cultural council in those towns to help share the cost. Do I have that about right?
That's true.
That's true. If you can, every town has their own local priorities that they set, and in Haverhill, your event has to be happening in Haverhill. So if you have something that's going on in, say, 5 different towns, we would ask you in your budget, which is outlined on the application, how much of your budget is for the Haverhill event?
I see.
Because then we can understand better what kind of monies you're looking for. We'll also ask you how much you're getting from anybody else if you already know. Obviously, all the cultural councils are going to be making the decisions at the same time.
Very, very interesting.
And that's something like the Museum of Printing. We have a little flyer from them. They've got an event going on. We sponsored their free, once a month they have a free pass where you can come in and try all the different things at the printing museum. And you can see at the bottom of their programs and everything else the number of different councils that have supported that. Now,
that's exactly.
It's located in Haverhill, but Methuen, I think Andover, North Andover, all these different councils have helped support this museum because it has more of a regional appeal.
So, I mean, it might just be a little additional resource for someone who's looking at a larger event. All right. What else would we like our listeners and viewers to know before we wrap up?
I think one of the biggest thing is just, and we kind of showed that to you with the calendar that we have here, is the impact that the Cultural Council has. If there are events, for example, what's coming up? We talked about the Boston Youth Music and Arts Festival on September 10th. We've also got Savor Haverhill, which is kind of a farm-to-table event that's coming up that's being put together by the Merrimack Valley Food Co-op, and that's October 22nd. And then we've got
Savor Haverhill.
Savor
Oh,
Haverhill.
we can't say that.
3 times faster. Now, come on. And then one of my personal ones, all of the members mentor different programs. So I am a mentor of, so I'm bringing this one up, which is Art Through the Eyes of Ages at the Bethany Communities. So there are 3 Bethany senior homes.
Oh, yeah, Chris, can you put the Bethany one up? I looked at that photo actually beforehand. Of course, radio viewers aren't going to see it.
Okay, but let me just, I can give you a visual. So what we've done with the grant that they have received from us is they are giving art lessons throughout the year to the senior citizens that live in their communities. And then in October, each one of the different 3 communities has an art exhibit for the seniors. And so we do from things like that to, we did Pentucket Players did School of Rock. It was the YMCA did, Lion King Jr. So we little kids, older people, and then we've got this whole group of musicians coming forward with the Northeast Youth Music and Arts Festival.
Right.
Wow, okay.
And then in schools, we're doing some cool things there, like building self-esteem through art. And then the other one where we brought ukuleles into the school because it's a very easy instrument to learn to play. And
is it?
It is. It explains Tiny Tim if you have any age on you at all.
Tim, and okay, never mind.
But it's easy to play, and all sorts of studies have shown that learning music at an early age helps with math, helps with self-confidence, helps with all sorts of things that really help you learn to study.
I think the reverse is also true.
What is that?
I played clarinet and failed algebra. I played clarinet poorly and failed algebra.
I was pretty dreadful.
Never did figure out that 3/4 time.
I was pretty dreadful at the flute, but that's because I really wanted to play the banjo, and they didn't have that in my school.
I'm sorry for the aside. You just brought back painful memories. All right, no.
That's what we're here to do, isn't it?
No, yes, I'm here doing this instead of playing the clarinet. But anyway, it just seemed like, they show these instruments to students, and I can't remember which grade then, maybe they still do it this way. And you get to hear them and watch, and you say, wow. And they say, is anyone interested in a band instrument? And of course, I go home and tell my parents, I want to play clarinet. First of all, it comes in like 6 pieces. Who knew that? But anyway, bad memories, folks. Anyway.
All right, well, let's talk about a couple of the other things that we have going on. We are in the last week for both the Movies by the River, which is Creative Haverhill's free movies down at the Haverhill Bank parking lot, and so that's this Thursday is their last one. That's kind of sad when you see that end. It means summer's over, as well as Paul Prue's.
You know what's funny about that, though? Thursday, I had a meeting downtown, and people get there really early.
They do, because at the movie
Light, I mean, the sun was still out.
They had, well, what we funded for them this year were the pre-events. So they had Lego Batman arrive. It's our fault. They had when they aired Sing, they had karaoke for the kids before that. So all of those pre-events to make it a whole night for a family while you wait for the sun to go down. That's what we actually sponsored for them this year.
Well, it certainly seemed to be very successful. I was just surprised that I don't usually get down there, well, if I have a meeting, it's usually at night, not late afternoon, and so I was surprised to see all those people.
Yeah,
so it seemed very
that's
successful.
a very successful program. We've supported them for 3 years now, I believe.
This is the 3rd year that we've supported them.
And we do look at things to wean them off of us and to go into other directions. For their funding, as they become more established, they can have sponsors more easily.
Well, I do think that sustainability is probably outside of the discussion here, but almost every group is looking for, what is the word I'm looking for?
Money.
No, well, it's something like entrepreneurial sustainers, that when you can get through, and I think that's where Haverhill Cultural Council helps the most. It can help get an organization on someone else's radar that could help, and maybe increase ticket sales, because once you've been, next year you may have someone say, I bring 5 friends that were so good last year, and so you actually start developing, it's called venture philanthropy.
Okay.
You seed an organization, and then others take over, and I think that really is a good point.
And that happened with the Experimental Film Festival.
Yes, it did.
We had funded them for a number of years, and this year we did not fund them, and not because they're not a wonderful group, but they were able to find their funding elsewhere. So we were excited to see that continued. And a couple of ways works the other way as well, whereas River Ruckus this year wanted some support. We hadn't supported them in my tenure, and they may have before. So we were able to support that event, which brings a lot of people to downtown, as well as Paul Prue's Bradford Common Music Series, that free series on Friday nights. And this was his 10th anniversary, and he wanted to celebrate that by bringing in a youth concert on a Saturday afternoon, so that we were able to help him fund that.
Oh, good. Any others that stand out for you?
Oh, they all do. It's like asking to pick between children. Let's see, what else do we have on here? The Saturday open house is at the Museum of Printing. We are supporting the Christmas stroll this year, and we supported the hanging of and this is where you can see how broad the spectrum is. We supported hanging the Christmas bell downtown as well. And Light Up the Hill, which we talked a little bit about. We touched on that. What are your favorites? Who are you mentoring?
Right now I'm drawing a blank. Oliver was one of the ones that I was mentoring.
That was Pentucket Players or Spotlight Players?
That was Spotlight Players.
Spotlight Players.
So there's a multitude of groups. They kind of stretch across all spectrums of interest. So just encourage people to take a look at what's available through the Haverhill Cultural Council. If you've got an event coming up, please consider putting in an application. You don't know where it might go.
All right. So beginning September 1st, and I don't know that I expect people driving in their cars to remember these addresses, but the best address to find you is massculturalcouncil.org, and then you just look up the city. Is that right?
It's mass-culture.
Hold on. I'm looking at the bottom of this page.
Well, then that's a misprint. It's
well, if you
You'll find the Mass Cultural Council.
If you type Haverhill Cultural Council into any search engine, it'll bring you to the right page.
That's right.
And I think our Facebook page is really growing too, and we're able to support the different events as they're about to happen. So please log on, like us on Haverhill Cultural Council Facebook page.
Great. So there you have it, folks. September 1, applications become available. You're going to go online. If you have any trouble finding it, you can always call the radio station, 978-374-1900. We'll help with that. And, of course, if you want to help with the survey and you'd rather not take it online, you can send a note to the Haverhill Cultural Council at 10 Welcome Street in Haverhill, and they'll send one out to you. We covered that today. And then I think a future show I want to build around this mentoring process, because I think it sounds fascinating, and I think it's something that can be very helpful to a budding organization.
And that's, we tried to take on one person, that group, when we were a smaller number of people, one group that was new, so that you could really see them through it. But you knew that was going to take a lot of time, so then you might work with someone like Jenny Arndt at Creative Haverhill, who knows everything about everything, and she's going to be a real easy one to mentor. But that's how we did it this year.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciated having you on the program. We had Alison Colby-Campbell, and it's only because you're next to me, and Ruby Lyons. Ruby, you've been involved a little longer, haven't you?
I've been on the council almost 5 years now.
Okay.
So.
And
the 6 years is the maximum all at one time.
Oh, you face term limits.
We have term limits.
Then we can come back in.
Then we can come back.
You have to be out for a while.
Actually, is there a... I imagine, even if it's informal, that former members can still advise and consult.
Certainly. We do. We do have several former members that we reach out to, especially if we're trying to figure out, how'd you do this in the past? Which there's just so many things that come up that it's good to have that access to many people that way.
Can I just say, I want a slight diversion here. I'm really thankful that Ruby filled in for me today. We had someone back out at the last minute, and she's right in the process of putting on the Steve Lyons Fund Rock Out Cookout, which is in a couple of weeks. So
2 weeks.
Ruby, I know you're tearing your hair out for that. So thank you so much for showing up.
And actually, I mean, frankly, it's one of the reasons I was saving some time here, because I wanted to ask you about that while you're here. We have community spotlight announcements about it running every so many hours. It's in a rotation. We had a major story, but the Steve Lyons Fund. This is a really big event, and proceeds go to support various school activities?
There are various organizations that benefit youth, community, music, arts, self-reliance, personal self-reliance. So
always at Winnicott Castle.
It's always been at Winnicott Castle. Or since we've started doing the daytime event, it's always been at Winnicott. And everyone is welcome. We try to keep the ticket prices within the means for a family. Part of the ticket price includes a full barbecue lunch, and it's quite something.
We've got Hobbsies this year.
Hobbsies is cooking for us, and they did last year and this year. And then the only other item on that is that this year all the funds being raised from this event will be buying instruments for Haverhill Middle School bands.
Perfect, wonderful.
So, speaking of ukuleles
and clarinets,
let's just turn yours in. Well, I'll donate my flute. You donate your clarinet, and we'll get them out of our houses and get rid of those bad memories.
There you go. There you go. So all kinds of things. All right, everybody, make sure you pay attention to some of these things coming up. I know it's summer. I know some of you may have just brought the radio out to the porch. You're enjoying a cookout of your own on this wonderful night. But Haverhill Cultural Council, if you're an artist, if you care about artists, you'll care about the Haverhill Cultural Council.
And if you're not an artist and you're a historian.
There's history is, in a way, a form of art.
It's humanities and the interpretive sciences.
The interpretive sciences are the one that I think are the most difficult for people to understand. But if you take something like a science teacher that is teaching his students or a group of students how to create a rocket and everything that goes into that, that would fall into that interpretive science. The other thing would be if you're trying to set up a sound room. There's so much math and science that goes into that, especially if you're dealing with young people or young adults trying to learn it. That's an interpretive science. So it just kind of give you a hint on...
Our architect could have come to the Cultural Council when he was designing these double walls. It's a combination of steel. It's a combination of steel and wood so that they don't vibrate against each other.
Right.
Say that. And I always thought, I always think in my head, what would be a cool thing? First of all, I'm throwing this out there if anyone wants to apply, and I have no say in anything, but I always thought a zucchini festival would be hilarious.
Zucchini festival.
Right, no one does it. They grow like weeds. Everyone's got extra ones. You have a cooking thing. You have a sculpting thing.
Oh, that's an idea.
And the other
No,
thing
I thought maybe we'd have to dress like a zucchini.
No. But if you have a zucchini that looks like Nixon or something, you bring it in for the zucchini art. I always thought that would be kind of cool. And I also thought, in terms of the interpretive arts, if we did some sort of Haverhill-based historical cookbook.
Ooh,
Don't you think that'd be cool?
I think that's very interesting. Very interesting.
So there's.
I have ideas and I don't have the time, so.
Let your imagination run wild.
Sure.
So here's your chance, folks. We're at the top of the hour now. It's time for news, but thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you,
It's
Tim.
so nice of you to have us back. I appreciate it.
Always. You're always welcome here.
You're a good friend of the Cultural Council.
Ruby Lyons, Alison Colby-Campbell. I reversed the order this time. Always welcome here on the Open Mic Show. Always very, very informative. And I love my color poster. I'm going to hang this. Actually, I'm going to put one in the lobby because I think, we have on the air every quarter past every hour, but adding a visual might just help encourage people to attend some of these. So thank you very much. Look forward to the next time, and there will be. There's plenty of things to do in Haverhill. All right. We're going to throw it back to Chris in Master Control. We're going to local news. We'll be back with Open Mic in just a moment.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 8:01.
WHAV LP Haverhill.
Here's what's happening in local news. Haverhill police have made 2 more drug-related arrests at the state border, bringing to 5 taken into custody there in about a week. 44-year-old Stephen Patuan of Sanford, Maine, and 26-year-old Livio Henriquez Soler of Lawrence were arrested Thursday night just after 7:30 on Plasto Road. Both were charged with possession of drugs with intent to distribute and conspiracy to violate drug laws. Henriquez Soler was also charged with distribution of drugs. Last week, 3 other out-of-town men were arrested at the Plasto Road address on fentanyl and other drug-related charges. 27-year-old Rafael Espinal Calderon of Lynn and 19-year-old Griffin Fredette and Brandon McWilliams, age 20, both of York, Maine, were arrested by Haverhill police 6 days earlier. Fredette was charged with 2 counts of fentanyl trafficking, possession of drugs with intent to distribute, and conspiracy to violate drug laws. Espinal, Calderon, and McWilliams were each charged with fentanyl trafficking, 2 counts of drug distribution, and conspiracy to violate drug laws. Espinal Calderon was additionally charged with using a disguise to obstruct justice. Espinal Calderon was initially held on $10,000 bail in district court, but bail was revoked because of another outstanding case at Boston Municipal Court. Fredette was held on $6,500 bail, and McWilliams was held on $1,500 bail. Throughout the month of August, WHAV provides a daily report counting down to the first day of school in Greater Haverhill. Haverhill High School staff will team up with Power to the Parents to show families how they can spot clues that might indicate their children are involved with drugs or alcohol. Power to the Parent is a website and media campaign created in Westchester County, New York, designed to help parents help keep their teens healthy and safe. On Thursday, August 17th, from 6:45 to 8 p.m., the organization will set up a mock teen bedroom in the conference room near the main entrance to the high school. This is the same date as freshman orientation, which begins at 6 p.m. In the room, clues to drug and alcohol use will be hidden in plain sight. Parents are encouraged to look around to see how many items they can find, including drug-related decor, hidden compartments, and items designed to conceal use. Staff from HHS will be available to answer questions and explain the meaning and use of the items. Parents do not have to attend freshman orientation to take part in this program. All interested parents are invited. The middle school years can be a difficult time for all kids, but girls in this age group face unique challenges. Timberlane Regional Middle School offers a 10-week after-school program called Heart and Soul for girls in the 6th through 8th grades. Physical activity is at the core of the program, which uses running to impart life lessons and build self-esteem. It culminates with a 5K run and celebration. Monday, August 14th at midnight is the deadline to register online. If openings remain, a new registration window will open Tuesday, August 15th, and remain open until all slots are filled. Heart and Soul meets Tuesday and Thursday after school from 2:15 to 3:45, beginning Thursday, September 7th. Upgrades to Methuen school buildings will greet students upon their return, Superintendent Judith Scannell reports. Lighting has been upgraded in classrooms at CGS, Marsh, Tenney, and Timony schools. Marsh School received a new roof and upgrades to the HVAC unit. A kindergarten was created from unused space at Tenney School. Timony Stage received a new wood floor. Renovations of the auditorium has begun with an estimated completion date of October. At Methuen High School, workers are building a patio dining area outside the Ranger cafeteria. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source. There's always more at WHAV.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Tim Coco.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. U.S. President Donald Trump has explicitly condemned the KKK neo-Nazis and white supremacy groups as repugnant after heavy pressure to do so. Hundreds of people are feared dead in Sierra Leone following a heavy downpour that triggered a mudslide. And the South Korean president is calling on the U.S. to find a diplomatic solution as tensions rise over the nuclear threat from the north.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Gary Best with wave weather. Partly cloudy to clear at times during the night for the Merrimack Valley. Low temperatures 62 to 66. Mostly to partly sunny, a stray shower possible later on Tuesday near 85. Then scattered clouds in mid-60s at night. Sunshine 85 on Wednesday. Similar weather on Thursday. This is Gary Best. You're next to wave weather in 30 minutes.
Broadcasting on the Armstrong FM system, this is 97.9 WHAV. Broadcasting on the Armstrong FM system, this is 97.9 WHAV.
Catch the wave, WHAV. Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
And welcome back to the Open Mic Show. We just had a very informative discussion with two members of the Haverhill Cultural Council, Alison Colby-Campbell and Ruby Lyons. Applications coming up beginning on September 1st online to apply for a grant from the Haverhill Cultural Council. Now, a number of other topics came up, but let's just remind everyone that you can wish someone a happy birthday or a couple having an anniversary in September. We work a month ahead, and they could become eligible to win a free Albany D's second-generation Italian bakery cake. A 7-inch cake, choice of vanilla or chocolate, and it's so easy. All you have to do is call the program, 978-374-1900, and you can even wish yourself a happy birthday, or you and your spouse a happy anniversary. No rule against that, and you could be enjoying a piece of cake, just a couple of weeks or so. Contest runs out then. All right. Before our guests were on, we kind of talked about this, and you can change the subject. We have open lines until the end of the hour, but the end of the half hour. But I think it is going to be a debate. I think it's going to be the issue, despite what others will tell you. I think the issue in this fall's local election is going to be the answer to this question, to the extent anyone knows. Do we want Haverhill to be affordable? Do we want to spend more? Now, I'm not sure that that's a mutually exclusive equation. And I think City Councilor John Mitchison kind of pointed this out. Spending more doesn't necessarily mean raising taxes beyond what the city's so-called levy limit. That's the amount the city's allowed to charge on top of the base from Proposition 2.5. Now you have councilors like Councilor Sullivan, Councilor Masick, Councilor Bevilacqua, and I don't remember who I'm leaving out, who say, no, we have a lot of bills coming. Water rates are going to go up. Sewer rates are going to go up. We're going to have to hold the line on taxes because it's the total bill that residents should be looking at, not just the tax bill. Valid points on the other side. When I just mentioned Councilor Mitchison, who was the only councilor, by the way, to vote against the budget in the end. And his argument is that people are demanding better schools and they're demanding greater public safety. Haverhill, whether statistically or not, Haverhill has more crime than it has. And then there's some debate about that, depends who you ask. I think the mayor had his own review that says in all categories, crime is actually down. I think others who would rather not speak publicly on behalf of police are saying, well, it may be true, but the crimes that people are worried about the most, we've had 3 murders. That is a number that just floors me, floors a lot of people, that the city of Haverhill would have that many. Okay, it's an oddity. You can't have police everywhere all the time. Could it have been prevented? Could you had the police just in the right spot? It is a big city, 35 square miles to round it. So that it may not be that hiring more police would solve any of those problems. But there's the big debate, whether or not any side can possibly answer it. I don't think anyone argues that, well, it'd be nice to have more police. It would be nice to have every pothole fixed. It would be nice to have every sidewalk repaired. It would be nice if every city school was as good as the new Hunking School. And there are some people who have made that priority, that we're going to just spend because it's what's required. Now, this is the one opinion I have on this. And listen, we can agree or disagree. We'll always be friends, listeners and I, but I worked in Newburyport. I worked for the Daily News of Newburyport for quite a few years in the late 80s. And we don't want to become Newburyport. You might think we do, but we do not want to become Newburyport. I have never seen a failed economy as you can see in Newburyport if you lift the very thin veil. Now, you go down Newburyport. Now, here's what they have going for them. Those stores, the little boutiques, candy shop, wood toy shop, whatever oddity, chances are next year there will be all those shops again, but different owners because they fail. They do not have an actually strong economy, but they benefit by the fact that their rental spaces do turn over and the space gets filled. So it appears to be an ongoing enterprise when really it's a failed enterprise. And then what really happened in Newburyport, and I was surprised when I was really digging into this about 5 years ago. In Haverhill, you can go, and there'll be people who will argue with me about this, but you can go on any street in Haverhill, and you will find residents who have been here all of their lives, and they have a lot of wisdom, and they know what has happened, they know what works, they know what doesn't work. Not all are stubborn, as some newcomers would say they are, but people who have said, no, we really did do this, we studied this. But what happened in Newburyport is the old-timers, if you pardon the term, property values keep going up and taxes keep going up. And Newburyport didn't just renovate its high school. It tore down the interior and built within a shell, the most expensive way. Yes, it looks great. Haverhill didn't do that when its high school had to be replaced. But Newburyport is now attracting people with much higher incomes, and that is squeezing out people who say, you know what, I'm going to finally cash out. I never thought my high street home was going to ever be worth this much. I am going to cash out and move to a 55-plus retirement community, and I'm going to leave my hometown because I can't afford it here, and I really can't believe the prices I'm getting for my house. And I really do not think that is why a city should progress. I think Newburyport is a failed city, and I know it looks like it's wonderful and it is enjoyable to go there, but its economy is built as weak as the sand on the beach. And that is something, you can agree or disagree. And listen, I welcome that. You might even be able to change my mind. 978-374-1900. I know we have a caller waiting, but just wait 1 second. We're going to go to Community Spotlight here on WHAV 97.9 FM.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Are you listening to WHAV on cable television? If so, join WHAV in thanking the board, staff, and members of your local public access channel.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Gary Best. Do you need to know if it's going to be hot or cold, wet or dry? Well, find out every half hour, 7 days a week with WAVE Weather. I'll keep you in touch with up-to-the-minute reports covering the greater Merrimack Valley and beyond. It's WHAV for accurate weather when you want it.
Community Spotlight.
If you have questions about Medicare options and benefits, Shine, serving the health insurance needs of everyone, may provide answers. Shine is a source of free, accurate, and unbiased information regarding health insurance and healthcare options. In Haverhill, the program is administered by the Massachusetts Executive Office of Elder Affairs in partnership with the Haverhill Council on Aging, 10 Welcome Street. Appointments with a certified Shine counselor may be made by calling Wendy at 978-374-2390, extension 19. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at WHAV.net or email news@WHAV.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, this is Diane Carr.
WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
All right, we're back here on the Open Mic Show. Let's go right to the phones. You are on the Open Mic.
Good evening. Good evening, Tim. How are you?
Good evening, Jerry from Methuen.
A very good. The group from the cultural group. It was great. I hope that's going to be very successful.
Yes, so, well, they have, they really are the force behind a lot of groups that otherwise wouldn't be able to do some of the cultural things.
Yeah, I know it.
And they do that.
It's too bad, but we can't have Robert Goulet sing the Star Spangled Banner once in a while, right?
No, that's all right. Do you have a copy of that? Chris will find us a copy singing the Star Spangled Banner. We run the national anthem every morning at 6 a.m. I think we're the only station.
You won't catch the one that was so important.
What's that?
You won't catch the one that was so important.
What do you mean?
He sang the words at the Floyd Patterson Muhammad Ali fight in Maine. He didn't use the correct words.
Oh, that's okay. So you're trying to trick me into playing something.
That's a trivia.
Okay. I'm sorry I missed it. Okay, Chris, don't play that song.
You did say one thing that kind of I don't agree with you on.
All right.
You said that people who use a lot of water should get a subsidy.
Oh, I'm not saying I believe that. I'm simply saying that was the philosophy.
Okay.
I'm saying that was the philosophy of the council.
I'm glad you don't, because it gets back to the whole root of the problem here in the Merrimack River. You know, my pet project, I'd love to get the governor of New Hampshire to sit down and say, yeah, we're going to release some water from the Winnipesaukee, because I don't know, you can expand the Haverhill water filtration plant with permission from DEP. You can construct the what they call a radial well in the middle of the Merrimack River with the approval of DEP and the Water Resource Commission. But if there's no water to be taken, and Haverhill is really growing, and so is Methuen, and all these communities along the river, there's going to be restrictions every year, you know?
Well, actually, I'm actually glad you raised this, because I guess this shows how good a job I did talking about both sides. I was simply saying that there were two arguments there, and one side, there was a time when the City Council said, we're going to subsidize the water and sewer projects as these are major capital costs, and we'll have everybody pay for them because we're a better city because of it. And then, but you raised a good point that but this also, people get to think that, well, the leaky faucet doesn't really need to be fixed because it doesn't much.
Yes.
And that kind of thing.
That should be a very big thing. Haverhill is really much farther ahead than Methuen is. Haverhill has done some what's called leak detection and leak removal. They did some corrections in what they call combined sewer overflows. They've done a lot of environmental, well, not a lot, but they've done environmental work that they're on a consent. They're like Methuen and Lowell and under what's called a consent decree to clean up the Merrimack, to improve it. And Haverhill is really, I think that, to my knowledge, Haverhill is the only one that has done anything, really.
No, actually, some of our
Lowell, you can't, if like Drake had to tie into the Methuen and Greater Lawrence, because the Lowell sewage treatment plant couldn't take any additional flow, and so anyway, but that comment about, so I'm glad you explained it.
Well, no, I mean, I suppose, if I were to continue on that line, I mean, there are some people saying, there are some mandated changes to be made at the sewer treatment plant.
Is right, because one of these days EPA is going to, depending upon whether it does, but these outstanding consent decrees are still alive and kicking there. They went to federal court on these, and maybe that's a place to to get all the municipalities of Methuen together and start talking about trying to get federal funds to, Trump is talking about, infrastructure repairs and things like that. Here's an ideal thing to do.
Well, it's funny is that if he takes community development block grants away, as they're talking about,
Yes.
at least past that paid for some infrastructure.
Yes, it did.
Whether it was sidewalks and improvements in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I have to say there is a bigger issue here, and that is, I think it actually makes sense that the city leaders look at the total cost. Water.
I'll tell you exactly what I talked to a guy in DEP the other day. He says, relative to the water and sewer program, he said, why not have the community do what's called an asset management short-term and long-term plan. Basically, identify.
Now, Councilor Mitchison would agree with you.
Yeah, and then prioritize. What's needed. For example, when even down to the point of vehicles and things like that, and staff. But look at what Methuen and look what Haverhill have. Water filtration plant. So many miles of pipe. What's the age of those pipe? When should we start replacing or relining that pipe? Have a plan as to look at our assets, drinking and water and sewer, but not only water and sewer, but for the whole community. It's what you call an asset management plan, and it sounds, the way he described it sounds wonderful, really.
Well, no, I know Councilor Mitchison has talked about this. I think there's actually, I don't know that there's any disagreement about it. It's just a matter of whether or not.
It's always money, though. Huh?
Well, for example, we saw one. This is more school related. It was a capital buildings project, but we saw one last year before. We reported about it on WHAV News that some unknown $5 million expense for Constantino School is sitting 3 years ahead of us. And, that's, a ballpark guess at fixing some of the immediate needs there. Then, of course, you know what happens. You're in government. Then you do a request for proposals. The bids come in, and it costs $5.
I know it. Well, then you shop around for another consultant, I think. Yeah.
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 So
things are getting hot and heavy in Methuen. The recent headlines that have captured the interest of a lot of people is that the mayor appointed the chairman of the city council to a rather large job as accountant at the police department.
Oh, that's a good point, and that's Jamie Atkinson.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. Who's going to be an accountant? Yeah, but he's term limited. Is that right?
But
he's
term limited.
He can't run again. Was that a factor, you think?
No, I think it was. I don't know what it was really.
Now, the other thing that's happened that raised eyebrows.
Now they have to have a legislative approval, where they have to what's called a home rule petition to do that, because it's a variance in the, I guess the general laws, and it's a variance at least in the Methuen Charter.
Okay. Now, actually, you also had another situation where they jumped over the council president and went right to Jim to be mayor for a day. Is that like Queen for a day, the old contest?
No, a number of days.
Oh, okay.
The mayor of Methuen is going on a vacation. I think it's going to be a couple of weeks at least.
You know what I find interesting? I guess we our own, and so Methuen protects its own.
Oh yeah.
But
Methuen is known as the what's that with boss something?
What, patronage capital of the state? No.
That's a pretty good word.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Tammany of
oh, that's right.
The Merrimack Valley.
Well, it's
Tammany Hall of Merrimack Valley.
It's just that I don't know why it doesn't stick, but it's not like there's an unblemished record there. But okay, or whatever.
Before I close, I kind of like the idea of an unopposed mayor. You know why?
You want to be emperor?
No.
Okay, well.
No commitments. No, he doesn't. He won't. I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So, in other words, there's no promises. Well, if I get elected, you're going to get this job.
As far as patronage.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, there's an argument to be made for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he'll fill that position for a year or so, a couple of years, and then run for Songers's position. She just announced her retirement.
That's
correct?
right. We had that story out there. Actually, any candidates out there that you would like to see run for Songers's seat, even if they haven't announced? Anyone you'd?
No, I don't. I don't. I don't have any.
So you're not endorsing Jim DeJuger for Congress?
I'm not endorsing anybody. I just think for Methuen, I don't think Songers had ever really helped Methuen out much at all. I can't remember much in the way of funding or anything that came to Methuen. I do read many times. I read the newspaper. Lawrence got plenty of help.
Oh, no, that's true. I have to say, my last thought on this is we're out of time, but City Councilor Joe Bevilacqua in Haverhill has said many times over the last year or so that we have so many projects that we have to do. They're not our priority as much as they're the federal government's priority.
Yeah, that's right.
So why doesn't the federal government step up with the money? That's
right. Yeah. This mandate, for example.
Yeah.
For example, and I'll leave you with this. I've looked at the results of the lead and copper in Methuen and Haverhill and Lawrence. Haverhill and Lawrence have concentrations in school buildings. Really, a number of them at school buildings, in excess of both the lead rule alert. They call them alert levels. They're not standards yet, but I would say that within 2 years they'll probably be standards. So what I'm saying is that Haverhill. So there's a big nut to crack right there. Mitigate those problems as soon as the people who have children in the school wake up and say, what's the quality of the drinking water of my son or my daughter? They're going to start. It's not. I don't know whether it's as bad as Flint, Michigan, but it's not. It's in the same ballpark.
No, good points. I'm afraid we're out of time, but Jerry, always a pleasure. I know we need to call you back on something else, and it's just
yes, please do.
But we'll do that. Thank you very much, though, for your longtime support of WHAV.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you. All right. So that'll wrap up the open mic show. We're going to be back next week. I don't even know that we have a guest on planned, but we will by then. So we'll take it from there and have a great night. Just a shout out to Master Control staff, Christopher Porter, I can't even say his name anymore, the man with 5 radio jobs, all of them unpaid, or most of them, and Cindy Driver, photojournalist, who does a lot of great work for WHAV. So everyone have a great night.
Open mic!
Join Tim Coco live on the Open Mic again tonight at 6:30. The opinions expressed on the Open Mic show are not necessarily those of WHAV, its underwriters, or affiliated stations. The Open Mic show came to you from the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom.